It's your boy Forever Cabron coming in to let you know to check out What's Hood with me, the Compa FC, where you can roll one up with a real one. We chop it up about everything, dog. Politics, hood shit, music, movies, acción, you name it, la causa, el movimiento. We want to tackle things about looking at your culture differently and all that good shit. So if you want to look into that, if you want to find some self-love and self-worth, dog, check out a Compa. Roll one up with a homie, dog. Every Tuesday and Thursday, right here on Binge on this. Check a homie out, dog. Stay up late.
All right, here we go. Hey, how are ya? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, geez. All right, hold on. Let me try that.
All right. Come on.
Man. I'm sorry. Here we go. There we go. All right. Hey ho, and what do you know, ladies and gentlemen? It's another episode of This, That, and the Other from Binge on this channel. That's right. I'm here, your friendly neighborhood co-host, Bryan. And as always, I got my friendly neighborhood co-host, Sam.
What's up?
Me. And today we have a very awesome comic-filled episode. Not just a comic-filled episode, but just like a story of like being dope and like defying the odds and just like putting people's stories to shame. Like that's really like I just wish you were here, bro, so that you could just see just the energy that's coming off of me just when I talk about your story and I think about you. But today I have like a really like a hero of mine on the show, Siike Donnelly from Florida now, originally from Los Angeles, but from Florida. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, Siike?
Hey, Sam. Hey, Bryan. And it's so funny to hear you speak about me like that. I'm very flattered. It means a lot. So thanks for having me.
No, dude, I'm having a brain like boner right now because I've spent hours, like not hours like just your voice specifically, but I've heard your voice pop up so many times and like through podcasts and just like
he's been talking about you for a while now.
I have just heard you and just you have been such an open book. I mean, you're talking about like I'm since I mean, like 2010, it feels like I've known you like as a radio person, like, and so to sort of like kind of like get to know you and like follow you on Instagram and like see that it's not like BS, it's like genuinely who you are as a person, like it just no. So thank you, my dude, thank you. So let's get a little background on you, Siike, and let me just explain a little bit to everybody why I'm so excited. Siike's biggest sort of claim to being a badass, in my opinion, is Siike's a multiple aneurysm survivor. So what that means, and I'll butcher it, and I'll let you. What does that mean, Siike? What does exactly that mean?
Right. Well, I guess it's different for everybody who goes through it. For me, it's called a subarachnoid hemorrhage. So it was like a vessel or a bulb that builds in your brain full of blood that bursts. And the way it is kind of described is almost like a grenade going off in your brain.
Shit.
So a lot of people do die from it. It affects more women than it does men. It's usually hereditary or it follows, bloodlines, but I seem to be the first in my family to have one. So that's been something interesting for all of us, although we don't know much about my dad's side. So it's possible that it runs in my dad's side of the family. And so after that, I guess, that happened in 2010 and I had to, kind of take speech therapy to get my speech pattern back and my voice, talking again. And then also physical therapy for walking. I kind of, as Dan Harmon once put it, a reset button was pressed on me. Damn. And I kind of woke up with not a lot of memories. When I saw my mom for the first time, I didn't know who she was, which broke her heart for sure, which is tough now because, we just passed my anniversary, which is what we call it. So it's my 10-year anniversary. And yeah, I never thought I'd make it.
You and me both, bro. I'm thinking about it. And you guys can go and follow Siike on YouTube. He has a great channel on there, the Venom vlog, and he talks about it on. You can go and do your research. This show isn't about talking. Because he's told this story thousands of times, and I wouldn't. So he's done his part on his end to bring a lot of attention to that community. So, the least you guys can do is
we'll put all the links at the bottom anyway.
Yeah, we'll put everything in there for everybody to check that out. But I remember specifically at one point you, and I can't remember what year it was, but you made a mention about not going to see any more doctors or something. Like you were tired about, and I'm butchering the story, and I can't remember what episode of Harmontown it was, but you were essentially just saying like you were like I can't do this anymore. Like you had your one doctor that you were going to go in and check with, and you were like, you know, kind of whatever happens happens, and you were learning how to redraw again. And I remember like you were fresh hot off of Elan Vital, which is like a book like that I love. Like I like, this was like, I mean, I just wish we had 4 hours, you know what I mean? But this was like your creative effort after coming back from your aneurysms. Like you essentially, like, what is that? What was Elan Vital to you, you know?
Well, I mean, it sucks because I feel like on some level, Elan Vital is kind of a failure on my part. And then on another way, I think it was a good stepping stone for what Elan is becoming. So, yeah, so to back up, I guess the doctor stuff was more that I was volunteering for studies, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I didn't want to basically be, you know, spend a lot of my time at hospitals.
Yeah, poked and prodded and shit.
Exactly. And so I didn't want to do that anymore because it was really depressing me. It actually I felt less and less human every time I was going to these things. And I felt like I was making real good progress in my personal life. And then that seemed to pulling you back. Yeah, it seemed to be the thing that kept breaking my heart. And I know it was hard on my mom too. And it, you know, so I didn't want to do that anymore. And I just figured whatever happens, happens. I still do see doctors from time to time. I have to get checkups every like 6 months for, you know, new scans to make sure I don't have any new aneurysms develop. And then if I have to get a coiling procedure done, I got to go do that, you know, and everything. So doctors aren't completely cut out of my life, but just on a regular basis like that, I made the decision to walk away. And at that point, I wanted to use that newfound energy of, hey, I'm kind of free. Let's do the thing that I kind of feel like I couldn't do while I was, you know, seeing these doctors, which was be creative. And Elan Vital was, I watched a special, I think it was, I can't remember, I can't remember what order things come in, but I want to say I watched a Bo Burnham special, and I was blown away by the talent, like how he was integrating song and performance, and it was like this performance art piece that I watched, and I was blown away by that. And I said, you know, this is this guy's message to the world through all the different things he's amazing at. And I said, let's try to explore if I'm, you know, good at anything. So I knew I couldn't be a traditional pencil artist anymore because of my aneurysm, because that's the thing I was struggling with. But I thought maybe I can try other forms of art, like, you know, stacking rocks or cooking, or, you know, just different things out there that people may not look at as art, but people who do it do consider it as art. And it was me trying to collect all that data into one book about a test subject named Elan Vital, who was a robot, who was the first robot to get a human soul, you know, integrated within it. And then to prove it has a soul, it is asked to create a bunch of different art styles. So it was very meta, because I was on the same journey as the main character, which I hear a lot of people do that when you create stuff. And this was me going, no, I should do that. We did complete the book. Mine either got lost or didn't come in. So in that regard, I feel like I failed a little, because I'm like, oh, I should have been more on it when it came to who I sent it to, because I got so overwhelmed with the shipping. And I lived I lived a block away from a post office. So I just walked down there with like stacks of them, you know.
Oh man.
And I just bring them in, and I paid for media mail and just ship them all out. But every once in a while, this didn't get, you know, we found this somewhere in a warehouse. I'm like, what the hell? So like, I'll email that person, be like, hey, I have your book still. Like, so yeah, so what I'm trying to do now with Elan is, you know, I never decided to sell it really afterwards. I mean, I think maybe it's on Amazon, but I think.
Yeah, I mean, I have my copy from Amazon.
Yeah, but I don't think Amazon, I don't know if they still sell it anymore, because they went through a transition recently with the printer I used through them. Turn Elan, I got voice actors to do all the voices, and I'm going to try to turn it into a series of YouTube videos with actual music and voiceover. And hopefully by putting it up, on YouTube in that form, maybe the message I was trying to get in there will get out there, which was the message I was going through, which was, I didn't feel human, and I was trying to find a way to feel like I was human. And that's the journey the character goes on, but he makes mistakes along the way, which is what I feel like I made along the way too. So it was a way to be aware of my flaws by making that book. And that's why I think it's a huge success for me, but I do want it to be something other people like too. So I'm trying to find a new format for it as well.
Honestly, making a book is, just that in itself is pretty amazing. Making a whole book is pretty hard.
And not
It's
just
not
that,
easy,
it was more than a book. It was like, it was paintings, and it was like dances, and like
it was music.
It was
I
music.
composed 4 songs for him.
He literally, when he was like, the dude had to prove he was a soul, he had to prove he was a soul. Like, he had to prove it. And like, it's very cool to hear that that's how you felt, that you were. And now that you're at your anniversary, do you feel human? Like, do you feel?
I guess I feel closer to humanity, I guess is the best way to answer that. I guess I just, for those first few years, I felt like this observer of humankind, which is why when Dan, he used to ask me all the time, like, because I was going to Harmontown before they even were recording it.
Yeah.
And I met Dan through that, and Dan would ask me to come on the show, and I kept saying no. Like, I was like, no, I'm not ready to. I don't feel like opening up like this. It feels weird to me, and I'm nervous in front of crowds, and when everyone's focus is on me, it's overwhelming. It's like a sensory overload, and I also was like, yeah, I just like being this ghost. Like, I think I just kind of sunk into this role of just someone who kind of existed in between both. Like, I worked a job because a person has to, but I didn't feel connected to anything, and I just kind of felt like this ghost going through the motions. And it wasn't until after meeting Dan and him having me open up and stuff that it kind of helped me connect with people. And I saw that a lot of people feel that way. And that was, I think, something that was nice for me to see, that, that I wasn't actually the only person who felt like that. And so it introduced me to a lot of people that felt like that too. And that helped me connect with more people. So I would say I'm closer to humanity now than I was before, for sure.
Thanks to Dan Harmon. Thank you, Dan Harmon.
Well, but I can't imagine. It's so good to hear that you had like the courage to pop up there, and because I tell you, man, every time I have those episodes marked when things are just not gravy, you know what I mean? And I just kind of have to like sit down, and because when you have a catalog that large, of recorded history, essentially.
Did we lose you, Bryan? Oh.
No, hold on. Give me a quick second. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
My bad. I'm doing like 14 different things. Which I should.
All from the car.
Yeah, because I have work. I'm trying to tell them that. But anyways, it's just crazy because then you can just go back. You can essentially go back in time, and you can pick, the first episode, and you can hear this dude who goes up there and he's like, yo, I did and again, this isn't what you said, but you were like, this is what happened, like, and now this is how I'm recovering, and like, I can't even draw an apple, and you're like, fuck. And there's no way.
Have you gone back? Have you gone back to listen to any of those?
Me? No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
No?
Two things. No, 2 things. I hate the sound of my own voice. So even when I record my, Venom vlog and stuff, and I have to edit it, I'm pretty much just watching I turn the volume really low, and I just wait for my mouth to stop moving, and then I go, oh, I got to cut this part out. So no, I haven't actually. A lot of people like Bryan will say, oh, they'll know that stuff by memory, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I when I go and listen to old Harmontowns, and it's like the next one I see, I'm like, oh, I was on that one. I go, oh, skip.
Wow.
That's pretty common. I heard. Like for me, if I hear my voice, I'm like, damn, I sound like that. I sound like I have a cold. But yeah, no, that's really common of actors and people who do podcasts and stuff like that.
I love my voice.
We know that, Bryan.
I can't get enough of it. I love it, and I think that just lends to the idea that I'm insane, but I'm comfortable with the insanity. I can deal.
Hey, man, yeah, just strap yourself in, and you're good.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm glad we got the sort of kind of intense stuff out of the way.
The bio
Let's
out of the way.
yeah, the
Yeah.
bio stuff. And you guys, like I said, he goes in depth, and there's plenty of enough literature about Siike out there that you can go out there and
Yeah.
not have the man.
I was gonna say too, like you speak very highly of me, which is really nice. But not every Harmenian was like that, and I actually had a couple that
Oh,
told me when I used to be on Facebook, they're like, I can't listen to your episodes because they're too heartbreaking. They're too much it's too much emotion for me to go through, or I had a relative that went through that and passed away or survived, but they can't move like the left half of their body, and I've had a lot of different responses to it, and yeah, and so I know that not everyone out there, when they hear the intense stuff, they don't like it. They're
yeah.
like,
Do you regret going up there and telling your story?
I would.
Yeah, it's hard because I would say no. I didn't hurt anybody, and I didn't set out to hurt anybody.
If
So
anything,
of
you
course I
helped.
don't. So I didn't. So of course I don't regret it for that reason. But no, I mean, everyone, even the people who say it made them uncomfortable. It's like, well, I guess for me, even me thinking about it, I'm like, well, sometimes we do have to go out of our comfort zone to listen. Like I watch a YouTube channel that really pulls me out of my comfort zone sometimes, and it's I hate that I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but
No
it's
worries.
this wonderful guy. It's this wonderful guy who brings people on who have different medical conditions, and he has people on there that have like the
Sam,
deformities
Dino.
of their face, exactly,
Yeah.
and like or other things, and he brings them on. Like one guy who was like burnt from head to toe, and his face is just all mangled, and I watch every episode because I'm like, this guy has helped me. Because when I worked at Lego, most of the friends I made there were either kids, which was kind of funny, or people on the spectrum or with a disability, and that show helped me be more open and be more friendly to people who have have something going on that would make most people kind of not look at them
Made
directly.
you understand.
Right, and I wanted to be better with people, and so I love that show, and I hate that I forget the name of it, but it's a great show on YouTube.
Before I let Sam talk about comics, because that's the next thing I really want to talk about, I tell Sam a lot, and not to get, but Sam's gone through his own trials and tribulations, and I remember when we first met, maybe like a year into our forced friendship, I remember telling Sam, I think we were like tripping balls or something in the living room, or we were smoking or doing something, like whatever, just lollygagging before we'd thrown our plan together. And I remember like just talking to Sam, and like he would like tell me stories about his dad, like, and Sam's dad was like a bad dude. He was like, he was a cop, like he did all types of dope shit.
Yeah,
His
he was
mom,
an
his
undercover
mom
DEA
was,
agent.
and he would paint all these pictures, and then the conversation would end, and then we would remember, we'd be like, like I would remember, specifically me. This is something that, Sam, it's like having a rock in the foot that'll never go away, and something we all have to deal with eventually, the loss of our parents. But I always tell Sam, I'm like, I can't imagine having both of them knocked out back to back. And Sam will always be like, yeah, well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And like, I remember just the way he said it, and it wasn't a dude who didn't care. It wasn't like a, what are you gonna do? Like, I don't care about it. It was literally like, what would me stopping do? What would me stopping right now? What would me giving into anything, an addiction, into emotions? What would any of that do for me right now for anything? Like, and so to me, when I see and I hear stories like yours and I hear stories like him, that's what keeps my head above water. Whenever anything gets type of, wild, or anything gets really insane, I'm just kind of like Seek's walking around with a time bomb in his head. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can call my mom, you know what I mean? Like, those levels, there's levels to life, and so, I'll always be grateful, to meet Sam, to have Sam be part of my life as much as he is, and to have you be there and say your story and be as open as you are about it, because it's like that YouTube video, and I just got lucky and I integrated the YouTube video into my life. And so it makes things a little bit easier, keeping my head, above water. But Speaking of comics, man, you're a huge comic fan.
Yeah, how did that start? I mean, well, not how did that start? Obviously, everyone starts with comics when you're a kid, but
Yeah.
you went full force with it there. You picked.
And why Venom?
Well, first of all, Venom's badass. Okay, I mean, I gotta get my little Spidey shirt right
he
there.
threw on the Spider-Man Venom shirt on.
Right.
Nice.
Well,
Nice.
a little old Todd McFarlane cover right there.
Nice.
But yeah, like I was checking out because I've known you through Bryan, and then I was less into the Harmontown back in the day and more into the comics and Transformers especially, and which is funny because you're both into Venom and Transformers.
That's what I told him.
And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. But yeah, because you could have gone any route, I guess, with the YouTube videos. You could have gone with the whole, like that YouTube videos that you like. It'd be all about aneurysms and stuff like that. But you kept it jovial. You kept it comics. You kept it, fantasy at that point. What pushed you towards that?
Well, actually, there was a shrink I was seeing in California. It was recommended to me during this one period because I was at a low in my life, and so I was like keeping a lot of journals, and I was talking to someone about not feeling connected and feeling lost and not knowing what to do, and so I guess from those conversations it was I liked the idea of talking to somebody, but I hated the idea of talking to somebody after a while about what I was going through, which is why I appeared on Harmontown less and less, because I felt like there was one episode I went on where I talked to Dan and I told him that me and my mom had reconnected, and he got very excited about that. And he was like, yes, I'm so happy because when you first came on here, you and your mom had a rocky relationship. And I was like, well, it wasn't rocky. It was just we had trouble connecting because most moms, all they are, they're just full of memories, right? And they bring them up all the time. Oh, when you were this age, this, when you were that age, that, and so she couldn't do that to me, and that was hard for her, right? Because she would be like, "Oh, you remember this?" I'm like, "No," and so I guess like I wanted to, that felt like a good place to be like, all right, good. I don't have to come here and talk anymore, but I do like talking. I go, but what do I want to talk about? And that's what the shrink I was seeing asked me, and she was like, what do you like? And I said, well, I love comic books. Actually, it was my form of escapism. It was an industry that I was slowly found my way gravitating towards, because when I was on Dan's show a couple times, I was working for a couple comic book companies, and who would get mad at me. They're like, dude, you were on stage with Dan Harmon. Why didn't you plug our comics? I'm like, well, Dan didn't bring me up there to do that. Like he asked me, we talked about my life on there. So yeah, that's how it came to be, was just talking to this professional. And then after I decided to stop seeing this person, I was like, all right, well, let's create a show now, like on YouTube, because I was following a guy on YouTube named The Ragin' Nation, who is you mentioned Transformers. He's an all Transformer show, and he follows the Transformer movies really closely. His name's Alex. He's a guy who lives up in Canada. Really sweet guy. And what I like about his show is, if you watch my show, I do exactly what Alex does. He followed the Michael Bay movies, but he only reported on actual stuff. He didn't report on leaks or rumors. He only reported on stuff that came from Paramount or a major news source. And then he showed official images whenever they came out. He would, anytime an interview was done with Michael Bay, he would cover it on his show. And then anytime a new toy would come out tied into the movie, he would review it. And he just did everything revolving around the Michael Bay movies. And after I saw that, I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to do what that guy does, because it seemed mentally healthy to talk about something you love so much. So I did start off my channel with a Transformer show called Seek and Destroy, and it just didn't really pick up that much. So I tried a bunch of different other shows. I tried to come up with other ideas, and I think really what it was even though I'm passionate about a ton of comic characters and stuff, I think most people just sensed, oh, his heart's not in this particular character or this particular show. And it wasn't until after a suicide attempt, and me hitting the absolute bottom in like around 2016-ish, that I started to, when I was kind of bouncing back from that, I was like, I need to do something. I'm losing it here. I quit my job in comics. I think the election had just happened, and there were people online that were, arguing and yelling at each other, and it was getting really intense. And I just kind of saw this deterioration of this group of people that I started feeling like I was finally connecting to. And then I just saw this massive divide and this vitriol and hate, and I got scared. I felt even more lost because I'm like, I don't know what to do during all this. And I feel like every decision I make during this is either pissing one side off or the other, or it's making everyone mad. And at that point, I was also going through a lot of other stuff. So after bouncing back from that, I looked at characters to do. And I'm a big Tom Hardy fan. I have a Mad Max shirt on right now.
Nice.
Nice.
And I heard he was going to play Venom, and I said, I was on the phone with my mom, and she goes, when you were a kid, you loved Venom and Spawn, and she's like, you loved everything Todd McFarlane. That was like your favorite comic book creator next to Jim Lee. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, I think I have some of your old stuff. Do you want me to send it to you? So I was like, sure. So she sent some stuff out to me, and I started looking through it and reading through it. And what I liked about Venom was, again, I think I felt like a connection. I saw this guy who is lost. He was trying to be a journalist, and he screwed that up. The world turned against him. New York turned against him. I always equate Eddie Brock to someone who was cancel cultured. I'm like,
pretty much.
He's a guy who maybe had a blue check mark on Twitter, and he was moving his way up in the world, and then one day
Peter Parker fucked it up.
Yeah, exactly. Like someone screwed his life up, and that check got taken away, and he dove in followers, and he got death threats, and and all these things, and people canceled him. And I was like, wow, that's very relevant to today. And I didn't really connect with that part, but I still was like, well, that seems very relevant. But then as I was reading more into him, I saw that his initial intention when he went to that church where he became Venom was that he went there to pray to God for forgiveness because he planned to commit suicide. And I think there was just, I don't know, I was like, wow, this fictional character felt so lost. I think it was because at that point, I didn't have anyone that I felt like I could talk to. I didn't have the shrink anymore. I didn't have anyone to talk to, and I felt too scared and embarrassed to talk to other people in the real world. So when I saw that with Venom, I was like, this could be something fun. And I thought I was only going to do like 10 episodes and quit because that's I never follow through with a lot of stuff. It takes me so long to complete things, and I just thought I'm never going to do this. Like I'm gonna screw this up like I screw everything else up. But for 500 episodes
here we
later,
are 500 episodes later, bro.
And look at this room. Like this room, I didn't have any of this stuff when I started the show. So yeah,
that's amazing.
No, that's
go ahead,
no,
Sam, go ahead.
I was just gonna say no, that's amazing. Also, but no, just because Venom has a lot. That's the thing. I've been a Venom fan since I was since way before Maximum Carnage. Well, I have the first appearance of the black suit. I have the first appearance of Venom. I have all of those things. And I used to love it was like the one-off series, like a 4-part episode of Venom. Every time they try to make a Venom comic, like an established comic, one through, continue on forever, they couldn't exactly do that. So they would always do like a 4-part series, and it always used like an off artist, some artist that's kind of on the fringes, and they would have it like Venom against Black Tom Cassidy and Juggernaut. It would always be something really weird. Those were my favorite comics. And like you said, it's because Eddie Brock, for me, was always that person that was the misunderstood. He's trying. He's definitely trying, and the world keeps shitting on him. And, he has the power. Everything you said is true. And a lot of people can hold on to Eddie Brock as like somebody in the comics they can relate to. And that's why I think Venom keeps popping up he just keeps coming around. And now we have a movie, now we have all this stuff. But even as a kid, every time I would be like, man, this character, I was always drawn to that character. And for the same reasons, because I think it's Eddie Brock. It's not even the symbiote at this point. Yeah. It's Eddie Brock.
Well, visually he's cool looking. So that helps that appeal. But yeah, Eddie Brock, I think the more you really dive into the character, it makes it like, it doesn't surprise me that Tom Hardy took the role. Like, even though people have mixed feelings about the movie, what that movie proved was Venom is a household name. Mm-hmm. and around the world, like
Yeah.
not just here in America. But one thing, because I worked in toys and at Lego and stuff, and I worked in marketing, and the thing about like there's a lot of kids that like Venom, and it's funny because I did an interview yesterday where the adult I was talking to was like, "Oh, I hate Venom. He scares me. He looks like he's like looks like a monster." And I'm like, you'd be surprised. Like most kids don't feel that way because in a lot of cultures, especially, big eyes are a very friendly thing. And so Venom actually appeals to a very wide demographic. And most kids see the eyes and they're not even scared by the teeth or the tongue because the eyes seem so cool and inviting. And plus he's such a simple design. It's amazing. So but Eddie's an amazing character. And what I like is that, like you said, the world does crap on him. He does crap back. Like that's what I like about Eddie is he's not like Peter Parker, where Peter Parker kind of just has bad luck and the world does kind of crap on him and he just takes it because that's what, most heroes do, I guess. They just kind of endure, he's the underdog. But Eddie's not like that. Eddie is responsible for a lot of his mishaps but he's the ultimate denier of that. And what I like is that over the years in the comics, he's come to accept that he is as much to blame as Peter Parker. And that's such a huge growth moment for the character. And I think that's what I really liked was it helped me be self-aware too. Like just following this fictional character, I was like, it helped me to look back and dissect decisions I've made and go, you know what, I can do better next time. Or you know what, I did screw that up and I need to admit that. I don't need to push it off or come up with an excuse. I need to actually face it and admit it. And that's what I like about Eddie is that he's the ultimate screw up, but he acknowledges now that he is a screw up, but he keeps trying to be better even though he's not good at it. And I think there's nothing more relatable than that.
Yeah.
Isn't that the essence of comics in a way? Is to teach us, give us lessons, life lessons. I mean, the heroes,
or
in
to
general.
to implant subliminal messaging to buy chocolate milk.
To brainwash us.
Right. You actually had an opportunity to be on stage or on set recently. Can you talk a little bit about making that wild ass adventure in your car and driving all the way to set?
So in early February, I had to have another procedure done where I had coils put in, and I was told, stay in bed for the next 2 weeks at least. Don't go back to work and everything. The problem is I could only get about 10 days off of work paid, so I had to go back to work. So I did. I didn't do too well, and they were like, hey, we're gonna send you home today. I said fine. So I went home, and I think so throughout that whole week back at work, I tried. I went in all 5 days that I was supposed to work, and I really did try. And every day they sent me home early, and it was a struggle. Except the last 2 days, I think I lasted my full 8-hour shift. So I was gradually getting there. So the week after that, I heard it was near the end of February. I heard they were filming Venom 2 in San Francisco, and I was like, I really want to go, but I am in no condition really to go. I mean, I would really the amount. Even if I made it there and back healthy, the aftermath of that is going to be really bad. So it's too much. I can't do it. And my mom was like, look, I normally am always worried about you. I tell you when to rest. My mom is an enabler, I will say. If I'm at a toy store or something and I'm like, hey mom, check out this Transformer, and I'm on the phone. Cause I usually call her when I'm doing stuff just so I have to be multitasking sometimes so I can be aware of stuff because I drift pretty easily sometimes out in public. I'm wearing my big dumb helmet and stuff. And so I'm like calling her and I'm like, hey, there's this Transformer. She's like, buy it. She's like, I'll put $20 in your account. Just buy it. It'll make you happy.
Nice.
Mom
so,
shit.
So my mom, she's really awesome like that. And so she was like, look, but when it comes to health, she's the opposite. She's like, stay home, go to bed, rest, don't go to work today. But in this one time, she said, I don't know why I feel this way, but if you get a chance to go up to San Francisco, just do it. Miss work if you have to, but just go. She's like, it's your last adventure. You're leaving LA soon. Because she really pushed. She was like, please come home. Like, please come back to the East Coast so I can see you and be near you during, anything else that you're going to be going through from here on out. And I fought against it at first. And then I said, you know what? She's right. It is time, to go. And so I said, but she's like, but before you go, you should go do this. It'll be a good final adventure. So she kind of talked me into it. So I had a Tuesday off in between 2 work days. I worked on Monday came home, went to bed, woke up Tuesday, got in my car, drove to San Francisco. It took me about 7.5 hours to get there. And yeah, before I went, I was able to correspond with someone through email. And basically I got into a position where after they finished filming, Tom Hardy came over and hung out with me and a couple other fans that were there with me.
Oh, shit.
And he signed my comic book. And then when he was signing it, I recorded him signing it. And then he gave me the comic. So I put my phone down, and then he goes, wait, Siike. And I go, yeah, because he signed my name on the comic. He goes, Siike. He goes, hey, you're the Venom vlog.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah. He goes, the emails that you sent, he's like, that got to me, but yeah, we know about the show. And like Jake is a stunt double. Is like, Jake would like to, meet you. Jake's going to come up here. So I mean, and then he left, he signed our stuff, and then he left, and he came back like after he shot one more scene with his stunt double Jake, and Jake came up to me and was like, Venom vlog, holy cow. He's like, you made it. And
oh, wow.
They were just the nicest guys. And
that's
they
awesome.
they signed my helmet, and they signed my comic books, and they were just the coolest. They took pictures with me, and they were like, hey, thanks for doing the show. Thanks for talking about this character for so long. Like when I tell people I've done 500 episodes of Venom, they go, what the hell do you talk about the whole time?
About
I go, 32 years of history is what I talk about.
Yeah.
But it was great, and my mom was right. It was the perfect last adventure, and it couldn't have gone any better. And even after that, like Kelly Marcel, who's the screenwriter of the movie, she tweeted me on Twitter and was like, hey, I heard you came up. I'm sorry I couldn't see you on set. I wanted to meet you too. And, and she's like, so, but Tom and Jake still talk about you and talk about
that's
meeting
awesome.
you. And then she followed me, and I'm like, wow, the writer of Venom is following me on Twitter. And it was just like when Dan followed me on Twitter before. I was like, man, how, like, so that's why when I have these bad days, I try less and less to complain about my health online. I know some people are like, oh, it's not complaining. I use social media as like a journal, because sometimes when I go to the doctor, I can pull up my Instagram and go, oh, this day I was sick. It helps me remember. But I try to always follow it with, hey, I'm not feeling well today, but don't worry, guys, I'm fine. And the reason I always put that is because I look back at the last 10 years, this second chance I got, and I look at everything I got to do and accomplish, and the people I got to meet, and these moments that I got to have. I'm like, yeah, I can't complain. Like, life is better than it should be. And me having a bad day with health, or having memory lapses or whatever, like, they just don't compare to the good. Like, the good is just too awesome now.
Dude, no, that's amazing. That's amazing.
That
I would have lost my shit if I would have lost my shit.
That's amazing.
I did. I was not professional at all. I was like,
Oh my God. And where you're cringing driving back to LA. You're like, fuck,
yeah.
did I just
I'm
say
like,
that?
well,
Oh no.
I'm not cool in Tom Hardy's eyes.
No, I was so stoked when I found out Tom Hardy was going to be Venom. The first time, I was like, no way. Out of all comic book characters, to be Venom was great. The only thing I was kind of upset about was like the whole Sony.
Well,
yeah, but well, they'll deal with that in the back end. Are there any? I mean, of course, the market's saturated, but if you could see one other comic made, right now, all
Comic
money,
movie
full money, everything, full cast. It doesn't have to be a remake or anything. What would you choose? Siike, not you, Sam.
No, I was just
no, I know. I'm just
but I did think about that.
I know. I saw your eyes, you monster.
I'd love to hear Sam's answer, but I
No,
would say
don't give that man any power, Siike.
I would. Yeah, go ahead, Sam. I'll let you go first.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah.
Transmetropolitan.
Ooh.
I think that would be a fun one.
As a
Especially
movie?
in today's climate. Yeah, if you did it right, it would be a cooler series probably.
I think it'd be better as a Netflix series.
Yeah.
Transmetropolitan's fire. What about you, Siike?
I mean, for me, it's now that I got Venom, I guess, like, I don't know. I really want to see Todd McFarlane's Spawn, like his new version that he's talking about, because I've read a script of it. I don't know if it's going to be the final script, but I did read a script, and it's like budgeted for like $10 million. It's like a Blumhouse style version of Spawn. And I'm into that. Like, I actually don't Spawn doesn't need to be like a $200 million movie in my eyes. Like, I think a horror approach where he's kind of like the spectator that gets involved towards in the third act, I was like, yeah, that's a neat approach. So for me, I'm kind of hungry for that movie, actually. And I think that's just because I'm a big fan of his. But honestly, as far as mainstream comics, I'm a huge X-Men fan. But I want X-Men to be a Disney Plus show. I'd rather them take their time with the characters. I don't want them to do movies for X-Men. Fantastic Four is the movie I want.
Yeah,
I want Fantastic Four.
A better Fantastic
Doctor Doom is my. Yeah, I mean, Doctor Doom is my favorite villain of all time.
perfect segue, my man. It's like Siike knows how to run podcasts. Let's talk music, man. Let's talk you and I, again, ironically enough, connected over Doom as well, not just for the villain but also for the villain. You know, Sam and I also managed to connect over the villain when we first met. What attracts you to Doom other than just his comic book persona? And Doom, for you guys, for anyone who doesn't know, go look him up, because he's the street poet. He's the Shakespeare of grime, dog. Go out there. But what do you like about MF Doom?
Did he? Yeah, I mean, well, so although I don't have a ton of memories of it, but I lived in the Atlanta area for many years before I moved to California, and then also, you know, when I moved to Florida and stuff. But I really got involved with underground hip hop at that time, so it was pretty cool. I went back and found all these old journals, like post aneurysm, of like times I lived in South Carolina and Atlanta and stuff, and I found all these artists that I was like really big into and that I would go see at the Masquerade. I think was this club that was, I don't know if it still exists anymore, but it had 3 stories. It was a hell, purgatory, and heaven, and they had like different concerts. So there'd be like techno would be like up on the heaven floor, and like death metal or something, or rock would be in hell, and purgatory would be rap, or sometimes they'd flip it. And so I got really into the music scene, and I love music tremendously. Every time I post an Instagram story, I spend like an hour looking for a song.
The perfect song for it.
Yeah, I lose my mind because I'm like, I love music. So
did you
MF
have a
Doom
concept of
he was
music
kind of,
when you before you got your memories back? Like, did you, because you said you didn't remember any of the bands, but like when you, I never heard you, I guess, specifically speak about
Or did
music.
you like the same music? Did your taste change?
Yeah.
No, yeah, you know, that's interesting. No, it seems like I still like the stuff I liked, but I did have to rehear it for the first time. But some things were like familiar to me. But no, the sound of music was actually something that was played for me pretty early on in the hospital, and I love just hearing music.
Because smells and music definitely bring back memories, or like, you know, like it gives you as quick, I mean, as much as it can, but it gives you some sort of sense.
It does, because like it's funny the stuff you'll learn, because a lot of stuff, memories too, are built in a way with muscle memory too. So like there are things I instinctively will do when I heard a song, you know, and I'm like, you know, whoa, what am I doing? You know, like what, you know, why did I would like
Jason Bourning it.
Yeah, because it would be like I used to work on my car. Like I had a Mazda RX-7 when I was in high school, an '82, and my mom said I would be in the garage working on it a lot because it had a rotary engine. It barely ran, and I was constantly trying to get it to run so I could go to school, because I paid like $1,500 for the car. I paid in cash, and my mom's like, yeah, so you would listen to like Seven Dust. I was a big fan of, and like, you know, hip hop. I was a big DMX fan. A lot of, I guess later I got into MF Doom and stuff after these moments. But I would notice my hands would just kind of get busy when I hear certain songs. My mom's like, oh yeah, you used to work out to those music songs. You would work on your car to that song, you know. So sometimes you start reacting to things. So, but it sounds like if I, you know, when I heard, you know, oh, I was a big fan of this or a big fan of that, because luckily, post-aneurysm, you can look at like your Facebook page, you could look at your old MySpace page, and you could kind of see what kind of stuff you liked. And
you should have just stayed away from the MySpace. You should not have gone back to
that. Luckily, I didn't go back for very long, but it was just like it was a neat gateway into that stuff. But yeah, so I feel like I like all the same stuff. But what drew me to MF Doom was, one, I liked the name and the look. I was like, that's cool. This guy's clearly a Dr. Doom fan. But yeah, the lyrics. Like, I think what most music that I like have lyrics that really pull me in, whether there's something I can relate to or not. Because I would say I can't relate to anything DMX is rapping about, but I feel his connection to it. You know, I feel his anger when it comes to things. I feel his sadness when it comes to stuff. I feel his loss when he's doing the Damien songs about how he's this guy going through life, feels like he made a deal with the devil, and it's like, it's amazing. It's like, so I connect probably more than art and anything else. I think music draws me in the most. So yeah, MF Doom is a perfect combination for me of comic books and music because of his look, but also his lyrics are amazing. And he led me to other things like Bionic Jive, who the lead singer that is Gorilla Monsignor, and his lyrics were really amazing. And then that kind of spread out. I listened to Hobson, and I started getting into all these like underground rapper guys, and I just became a big fan.
Wow, look, that's crazy. Look at me learning stuff about Siike I never knew, dog. I'm gonna knock
when I got into MF Doom, I didn't know anything about him. I grew up overseas, but once I saw the cover with him in the mask, I'm like, Dr. Doom for sure. Let's check this out. And the second I heard where they used samples of the old 70s shows of Fantastic Four and stuff, I was hooked. I was, as soon as they used that shit, I was like, love this shit.
Yeah, it was baller. Yeah, so good. He's so smart and so imaginative, and I mean, he's gone through his own stories, his own perils. You know, he lost his brother. You know, he was in KMD before all hell broke loose, and then you know, he's even allegedly had some type of allegations against him. You know, I don't know, it's crazy, but it's just whether it's Michael or it's his music or it's whatever, you can still sit back and, like you said, I can appreciate, you know, rap snitches on loop, you know, or accordion on loop, you know, 24/7. It wouldn't matter to me. MF Doom is the DMB of rap, Dave Matthews Band of rap. That's where.
What?
So yeah, you can print that. That's this episode's name. That's the name of this episode.
Sponsored by him, not me.
That's the name of this episode.
Hey, I'm gonna change I'm gonna change gears here real quick. I'm gonna
change some gears, brother.
I need to know. So, what do you think of the Michael Bay Transformers movies?
Well, you know, I guess I accept them for what they are. I'm not vitriolic with my dislike of them. I've actually met Michael Bay a few times. He's a really nice guy.
Really?
At least in my experience.
I heard different on set though.
Well, I didn't work with the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's not true. I did work with him once.
He's like, I just did lines at the Ritz with him. Yeah. He's like, we just did coke and hookers.
I did work with him, but it wasn't in the capacity where he could have been like that. I do know, yes, he's a very intense director because of the amount of stuff he's done over the years. Like, I've seen videos of him on set. Like, that's kind of one of the things I like about some of the behind the scenes of the Transformer movies is they like every behind the scenes, they kind of lie and they say, oh, look how fun this was to make this movie. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while in those documentaries behind the scenes, they'll show the real Michael Bay. And I like that. I like that because he tells them, he's like, no, show me as an a-hole because it's true. It's honest. Like, I am an a-hole because he'll show up on set and the stunt team will be like, well, we don't know how to do that. And he goes, just do this, 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 and this. And then there you go. And then they go, oh yeah, I guess we can do that. And he's like, yeah,
Yeah, so, what the fuck? Why am I telling you what to do?
Right. So I do know he is intense and that he's not easy to work with in that regard. But I met him as a fan, and then I did a show called On the Lot. I used to work on that show.
Was that an FX show?
No, it was a show like in the early 2000, like late 2007, early 2008. It was
Can you look that up, Jamie?
Yeah, it was like almost like American Idol kind of show, but it would bring on young filmmakers, and they would have 1 week to make a short film, and then the following week they would air the short film so people at home could watch, and then people at home could vote that night, and the next day they would pick the winners. So
was that like a Channel 101 ripoff, basically?
That's a good question. When did the Channel 101 one air?
Well, Dan and Rob were doing Channel 101 in like 2005, 2006.
Okay.
Yeah,
they got
this is 2007?
Wow.
Yeah, final episode was 2007.
That's cool. And he directed that, or he produced it?
No, yeah. Well, Steven Spielberg produced the show.
Cool.
But Michael Bay came on to be a guest judge because that was the weekend the first Transformer movie came out.
Nice.
So he came on. So I met him in that capacity. Yeah, and that first movie was amazing. Like, and
Loved
it was
it.
really cool.
Loved it.
What was really cool is I was working with, like, you know, because I was working in entertainment and stuff. So all the other PAs and the other people that I worked with were like really beautiful girls, you know. And I remember we all at that night went to see Transformers after, you know, with Michael and everything. And we saw the movie, and afterwards, like, this girl come up to me and she goes, "Hey, the others told me you've been a Transformer fan since you were a kid." And I go, "Yeah." And they're like, she goes, "Oh my God, I'm so in love with Bumblebee." And it like, I had this really beautiful girl talking to me about Transformers, and I was like,
Thank you,
okay,
Michael
this is a first. Like, because I've dated girls, obviously, who have been like, "Oh, cool, Transformers are neat," or they knew what it was because they're, you know, either they grew up with it or their brothers. But it was like, this was like just a different experience. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting that all these people now know who Bumblebee is, and they're fans of Bumblebee and Optimus Prime. And that's what I've always wanted. Like, my mom said, she goes, ever since you were a kid, you didn't want to be the only kid in your classroom that read comics or that talked about Transformers. You wanted everyone else to like it too, so you could have friends. And so now that this stuff is in the zeitgeist and it's the mainstream, my mom's like, the 6-year-old in you is somewhere inside you still happy as all could be, that the world loves the stuff you love. And I'm like, that's great to hear. Like, it's good that I'm around to see that, you know. Because so the Michael Bay movies, whatever your opinions of them are, what they did was they really did put Transformers on another level. And they opened them up to a whole new generation of fans, and because of that, I'm eternally grateful. And I actually saw the last 2 Transformer movies, Age of Extinction and Last Night, before Bumblebee. I saw those 2 before they even came out, and I even had a chance or an opportunity, I don't know how much I can say, but to change something that happened in Last Night, something very pivotal, actually. So Last Night, even though I'm probably the harshest.
It was actually tonight, not last night.
Even though I'm the harshest critic of that movie, it'll always hold a special place in my heart because I had a small contribution to it, which is, you know, all I've wanted to do in my life was contribute something to Transformers. So, and Michael Bay, like I said, I know him. I know him, but I met him a couple times, and he signed a poster for me, and just a really nice dude. So I'm a fan of his. Like, whether people like his movies or not, I like him.
You can't deny it. I couldn't watch the last movie that came out on Netflix. It gave me motion sickness. But every time I get, if I hear any criticism on the new Ninja Turtles or the Transformers, I look at the person and I go, if you were 7 years old right now and you saw this, what would you say?
Your mind would be blown, man.
You lose your shit.
Fuck you up.
Yeah.
So that's that. I always have to, if I go, what, that's not canon or whatever, I always got to think to myself, man, if I was 8 right now, I would just be eating.
He would beat you up, that little 8-year-old.
Oh, yeah, he would.
And that's what I tell myself is, you know, this is my 10-year anniversary. So I always joke, like, people go, "Oh, how old are you going to be this year?" And I go, "Oh, I'm turning 8 this year. I'm turning 9 this year." so when people go, "Oh, you like the Transformer movies and the Ninja Turtle movies?" I go, well, I'm 10 years old, aren't I?
Yeah. I got my pass.
I don't know why people were so shitting on the Ninja Turtles movies. They were pretty cool.
They're cool.
Yeah.
I
liked them.
They
weren't bad. Megan Fox was in them.
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, I guess it comes to, that's the one thing we try to do on my Venom vlog is I try, before the movie came out, I knew the movie wasn't going to be this intense, serious thing that, you know, everybody pictures in their head when they think of Venom. I knew it was going to be tongue-in-cheeky and goofy
Watered
at
down,
times.
yeah.
And I knew it was going to have all that stuff because I just expected that.
You got to make money.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. And look what it did. It made a ton of money. So I was trying to temper people's expectations. And I try to do that now with this next one. Everyone's like, oh, it's got to be rated R because Carnage has to be rated R. And I'm like, yeah, but 95% of Carnage's history in comics and cartoons and stuff has been in a PG to PG-13 capacity. So why does it have to be rated R?
You don't have to show it.
You don't have to show that stuff. Like, so again, it's like I feel like a lot of times I'm trying to temper expectations because people go in with these high expectations, and it's like, well, when you do that, that's when you come out with a vitriolic, taste in your mouth towards, Transformers or Teen Me. You just got to enjoy it for what it is. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to rewatch it. You don't have to come back to it or revisit it. No one says you have to be a fan of it. But the level that people go to spew the hate, it's like there's got to be a million other things you can do with your day. Like,
but see, the thing is, what you have that most people don't have is that you've lived that LA thing. You know what goes into it. You
Sure.
know, and I'm noticing a lot more people out here. Yeah, there's a lot of haters, but when you've actually been on set and you see what goes into it, and you know that they got to make their money, and there's a lot of people involved in the pie. Yeah, rated R, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all making
Sure.
hot dogs.
So,
Really, when it
Exactly.
comes down to it.
what is your favorite Transformer? Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, I was actually gonna ask him that. I was like, do you
Oh.
have like, because he has Venom as a character. I didn't know who's your.
Well, obviously, I always got to preface my favorite Transformer by saying, well, besides Optimus Prime,
Nice.
I would say my two favorite Transformers are Ultra Magnus.
Okay.
I love
The Boy Scout?
yeah, I mean, I cannot get over that line from the animated movie where he looks at Prime and says, I'm not worthy, I'm just a soldier. And Prime says, was I any different when the Matrix was handed to me?
Mm-hmm.
That one line
Deep
was
lore.
like, it painted this huge picture for me of the type of guy both of these guys were. They're blue collar, 9 to 5, sign up for the, to be in the military for their, fight for their country type of guys. Like they're just like they're everyday dudes.
Yeah, because Orion Pax was
he was a dock worker.
Yeah.
Like he was a 9 to 5 dock worker, and then he became Optimus Prime. So that was really great because it showed me that no job, you should be above no job.
Yeah.
And that all jobs could lead to great things, no matter what the job is. Whether you're a janitor or you're a CEO of a company, there's greatness in everything that you can do. So I love that character for that reason. And the fact that he wasn't the chosen one was awesome. I love that arc for him. But I'm actually a big fan of Wreck-Gar, the Junkion.
Okay. Interesting.
The Junkions are, I think, my favorite Transformers. I have every version of Wreck-Gar in toy form. I love that character so much. Eric Idle did his voice in the original movie, and then in the animated one a couple years ago, or like 10 years ago, it was Weird Al Yankovic did his voice.
Wow.
So I'm a huge fan of Wreck-Gar, and my friend used to work on Transformers, and I said, "Hey, is Wreck-Gar going to be on the show?" And he goes, "No, Siike." And I go, "Oh, because can I do his voice if you put him in there?" And he's like, "No, Siike." I'm like, I just want to be Wreck-Gar. That's like I want to be a Junkion. I want there to be a Junkion named Siike.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Just to pop in, be like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" And then just goes off scene.
A mound of trash piled up into robot form. That's what I want.
That's
awesome. Years ago, I bought every single Transformers cartoon,
Nice.
the ones from Japan.
Bro,
the
you
movie.
should see it. It is insane.
And every once in a while, every few years, I'll rewatch them from the beginning to the end, and the story's amazing. Transformers story is so good. My favorite guy is Soundwave. I've watched Soundwave. I love all the tapes. I don't know if you've seen my collection yet, but I posted. I have a retro Soundwave with all the tapes. Yeah.
But it's the reissue one. But I love Soundwave. Since you're a Soundwave fan, if you have not read right before because the current IDW Transformer book is a reboot. That's where they relaunched the whole. It's amazing. It's my favorite comic.
They're amazing. No, wait. I'm sorry to cut you off, but they are amazing. The comic books of Transformers are blow so many other comics out of the water. I'm so surprised at how amazing, and the art in that is amazing.
They have like 5 different house artists that do the Transformers, and every single one of them is amazing. Like they're fantastic. So the current Transformer book is my favorite. It's my favorite comic on the shelf right now. I love it. But before they did the relaunch, they did an Optimus Prime solo series that ran 25 issues. And if you're a Soundwave fan, I tell everybody to pick up that book, because in that book, Megatron is now an Autobot. And basically everyone is working together. They created basically a UN of robots. So it's like a Junkion, an Autobot, a Decepticon. It's like one from every clan. And they're all like this UN, and they're trying to bring humans in, and they're like, we need a human someone to speak for Earth and be on this UN. But of course, Earth isn't even united, so we can't appoint one person, because no one trusts that an American can go and speak for the world, or a Russian leader can go and speak for the world. So it's really amazing how the book plays out. But because there's no Megatron in charge, Soundwave defaultly becomes Optimus's right-hand man. And he actually, their relationship in that book is amazing because Soundwave starts to really respect Optimus, and they build a friendship over those 25 issues, and to the point where they both get these big moments in the end when they fight against Unicron. And I was like, that's so great. So as a Soundwave fan, I'd be curious to hear your take on that.
Yeah,
like every once in a while.
What is it called?
It's just called Optimus Prime. We ran 25 issues, and every once in a while on Comixology you can find the trades on sale for $5 each. So it's 5 trades. Each trade has 5 issues in it, and it's really good. It's a slow burn at first, but I love the Soundwave stuff they do in that book. It was amazing.
No, slow burn or not. Like I bought when I first got my iPad, I had this thing with comics with an X, and I was downloading them for super cheap. I bought every Transformers except for the old Marvel ones from back in the day. But all those new IDW ones, every one of them blew my mind, and I couldn't get enough of them. And as soon as I ran out, I was upset. I haven't read any of them in a few years, but yeah, it was so surprising to take this concept of Transformers and how deep they went with it was so amazing.
I have an important question. Do Transformers have sexes? Is there male and female Transformers?
Yes.
How do you make new Transformer babies?
Well, the Transformers,
do they come out of like eggs?
They're created by the planet Cybertron. So there's there is like Transformers can feel love for each other, but there's there's no procreation.
So they're just having sex for the sake of it.
Yeah, well, they don't have any.
I don't know. Siike, I've seen Rule 34, homie.
Yeah. But there's no like childbirth.
Okay.
So yeah, new Transformers come from the planet itself. But
cool.
but they still can fall in love.
But again, just to go back to those IDW comics, like anytime they're on Cybertron,
I'm trying to explore love, and
it's
the Transformer comic. They released a Valentine's Day special recently. Bryan, you should read that.
My recommendation.
A romance Transformers novel.
What were you saying, Sam?
Oh no, just going. I don't know what the whole point was, but going back to that. Some of my favorite things, again, like you said, when Magnus was talking about that, because half the time they were in war and fighting and something like that, someone would say something funny, and then one guy would be like, dude, I'm just a librarian. Like, here we are in war. And then you forget that how long they live and how long they, so yeah, they could have been fighting for 200 years, but that guy was a librarian for the last 1,000 years. And,
which is why when you meet a guy like Cup, who is like, considered a senior citizen of Transformers, he's like an old guy, and he's like, I've been through many wars, but nothing like this. It's great. I mean, there is real humanity in those characters, and there's some real relatability, which is probably the only frustrating thing about the movies, is that they don't touch on those too much, because that's the only.
It's a lot of lore.
Yeah, there is, and I understand there's probably too much to cover.
Too much lore.
But there's like great things like the Wreckers, who I think that's a really great group of Transformers, which has Cup and Springer and a couple other characters, where they were like almost like a Black Ops team, and it's like Black Hawk Down. They're like this group that gets sent in to save other Transformers during war, and they come back.
That's so cool.
And they come back scarred from it, and I'm like, where's that movie? Like,
where's that Disney Plus show?
Yeah, like that. It's like the 1917 version of Transformers, like that would be amazing. It's like, and you could do that, and that's where I think the movie franchise. I'm like, that's what they need to do, is figure out your foundation, create your, after Bumblebee, create like another movie, and then just start doing spin-offs and like just slap Transformers on everything.
Aren't they doing a CGI one?
They are. They announced it the other day. The director of Toy Story 4 is doing it, which is great.
Yeah.
And then there's another live-action one scheduled for 2022 now.
I'll keep watching them. I'd rather watch those than Fast and the Furious, honestly.
Hey, if my agent submits me to the live-action fucking Transformers to be Pedro, I'll do it, dog. I don't give a fuck. Just as long.
Well, don't you remember a few years ago, or many years ago at this point, when they were filming? I forget which Transformers with Mark Wahlberg. It was in Arizona.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember
that's right.
I was trying to go to be an extra, but there was
It's that
protests going
weird,
on.
awkward one with his daughter that he had sexual chemistry with on
Yeah.
screen the whole time. Like it was,
It's,
come on.
Did you hear? Wait, hold on. Did you hear TJ Miller talk about how it was with Michael Bay?
No.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. I forget what podcast he's on, and they were asking him, so what was it like on set with Michael Bay? And he goes, man, that guy's screaming and yelling at people. He goes, I yell right back. Nobody's talking to him. And I turn around, I'm like, fuck you, Michael Bay. And he was basically, he asked him, he's like, why? Because they went out to dinner, and he's like, he's so nice at dinner. And he's like, dude, why are you such a dick on set?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, because if I'm a huge dick on set, everyone can hate me.
Yeah.
Everyone can look at me and dislike me. But if I'm not the dick on set, people are just lollygagging. They're doing this, they're doing that. But if everyone is focused on me being an asshole, they can.
Why do you think I've been yelling at you guys for the past 3 days to get this goddamn show on its fucking feet? Yeah, well, I believe in that.
And it's a lot. I mean, like, people don't understand, and even TJ Miller. I mean, he's in the industry and stuff. But imagine when you're in charge of a movie that is spending $500 million of other people's money. You become
a Christian Bale yelling at a gaffer.
It's not a path everybody takes, but it's a path I would understand if someone took, like Michael Bay, because it's like, time is money. Yeah. We need these explosions to go off. We need to make sure no one gets hurt. We need to be safe, but we need to do it quickly. And there's a lot to juggle, and so I completely understand. And he's been on movie sets where stunt people have gotten injured, cars have gotten crashed, and people got crushed. It's like, it's a dangerous business, and he can't afford people to lollygag because mistakes can be made. And so I don't fault him for acting that way, because my favorite thing about directors is, to shift gears a little bit, but it's Joel Schumacher, after he made Batman and Robin, he had this great quote that I love still to this day, and I apply it to everything I talk about when it comes to movies, which is, he says, when a movie is good, everyone who made that movie should take credit for it, because it's a team effort. He goes, but when a movie is bad, you only should blame the director. And that was him taking
or the nipples on the suit.
That he's like, that was my idea. I take
full
God. Oh, Jesus.
he's like, I take full responsibility for.
But could you have taken that script? I mean, who knows before that script hit it to actual shooting script? But right. I mean, who know? I mean, can you imagine the way that script? Like, I can't. Put that script down in a normal situation.
You got Arnold there saying, "I want my line like this." You got this guy saying, "I want my line like that," and then I don't know.
And then you're like, "Look, Arnold, I'll arm wrestle you," like, and he's like, "Oh,
he got my money. I saw that in the theater when I was a kid."
I bet he got your money. You got your parents' money, fool. So, Siike, I have a question. You refer to your mom a lot for some of your past memories. She's almost like a memory Rolodex. And you do the podcasts that you do, and you record yourself sort of for your own memory's sake as well. Have you ever considered recording something between you and your mom? As something like Duncan Trussell did? Yeah,
I've actually asked my mom a few times if she would do something with me, and there was a time where after I went back home, it was the last time I was able to fly, so it was probably like 5 years ago. I went home and saw my mom. It was when my nephew was born, and I wanted to make a video with her where I just talked to her for like 10 minutes so I could put it on my YouTube, so I could show it to Dan Harmon. I wanted to do all that, and she actually refused to. She turned me down. She I don't know, she said very self-conscious. She's like, "Oh, I put on so much weight." I'm like, "Mom, no one cares." I think this would be really nice to have as a memory, not just for us, but there's a lot of people out there because there was even a guy who heard me on Harmontown, and turned out he worked with my mom. And he went up and was like, "Hey, are you Siike's mom?" And she was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh my God." And, he's like, "I can't believe I work with you." And, and even that was like too much for her, because he would come up and be like, "Oh, your son said this and on the show." And she's like, "Oh, that's great." But it brings up bad memories for her, because I think she still feels bad that for that time we didn't connect that much, and I think she still feels bad and guilty because we're Catholic, so guilt runs in our blood. She felt guilty about the way I was treated, after the aneurysm, and how it was hard for her, me being a clean slate and stuff, and kind of her reaction to it. So I don't know. I think that it's hard. I never stopped asking her, but she still to this day has said no. But it would be something. It's definitely something I want to do. So maybe at some point I can talk her into it, or maybe next time. Now that I'm closer to her, I think there's more opportunities now that she's only a couple hours away, so we can probably work that out now. So yeah, no, it's I heard
you don't have
that
to talk about
Duncan-
anything specific.
Or better yet, do it
Well,
without the
sure.
camera, dude. Just do it with just audio, you know, and just sit down and just have some tea.
And I
with
mentioned
it.
that too. I was like, Mom, I can just record the audio and stuff. So now that I live closer, I think that door is a little wider open.
Yeah.
And
Or just
it's
record it without her
I heard
knowing.
that Duncan episode was really emotional and great. So
Dude, that thing was deep.
Yeah, when he did that kind of solidified my kind of want to do that with my own, you know, and she's not gonna have a choice. I'll put her down, she'll deal with it. But that's like you said, a lot of it has to do with just being able to go back and like look at it. You know, we live in a time and an age where memories are essentially sketched down into digital like rocks, and you can always go back. I mean, whether you had an aneurysm
Digital
or
ghosts.
not, you can just go back
Right.
and pull it up and just kind of look over it. So to me, that's what the podcast is really about. You know, I hopefully in 10, 20 years, you know, I get to come back and I look at this and hear you and me talk and hear everybody talk and, you know, like, and just like feel good about it, you know, because you never know what's going to happen. And like, so it's interesting to hear. I'm glad that you asked her, man, like, because that would be my first move, you know, especially with sort of your situation. I would definitely want to be like, yo, let's have this down, because she remembers everything, you know, stuff you don't remember. And if she goes, like, you know, like, what do you shit, bro? You know, like, you're looking at a 51st date situation. Like,
I've been, I heard, what was it the other day? Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan. Did you guys watch that?
Yeah, sometimes.
a little bit, yeah.
Well, yeah, Elon Musk was just on there, and they're developing this thing. It's for brain injuries, and essentially they shave the skull down, and they put this little chip there, and it goes out into your brain, and it helps fix it up. I don't know. I guess they're right now trying it for.
You mean
brain.
space alien technology?
So what happened, I guess the easiest way to describe it, it's not a one-to-one comparison, but if you imagine like New York City lit up at night, every window has a light on and everything, right? Then just pick like a random part of town, and let's say there's like a 10-block blackout. That's typically the best visual representation of what a brain with you know, kind of injury or damage done to it is. It's like there's a blackout area. So neurons or whatever, everything has to travel around that zone to connect. And so that's why sometimes people who have those damages, depending on where that blackout area is, it can be too much for their brain to handle. They can't do simple things, or they can't do complex things, or whatever. It varies. Or they can do something one day, but they can't do it the next. So having a chip like that, I would imagine essentially would be something that would help the spark in that area. And it sounds interesting, but it also sounds like a chip in your brain, which the idea of that scares a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, because they're talking about obviously the beginning parts of it would be to help people relearn how to walk or something like that.
Right.
Then he's trying to go, so it's a link to a neural net, and you could learn things, and you can actually like learn a language like Rosetta Stone like in a second.
But then they can read your dreams.
You would have to know, and no offense to Elon Musk, because he's a really smart guy and everything, but you would have to know literally how to map the human brain to do that.
Yeah.
And although there are versions and smaller maps, but like, I mean, there's so much about the brain that, you know, I deal with directly with brain specialists when I talk about aneurysms and stuff, and go to a hospital or go to places or go to a brain aneurysm event or something. It's like, I only speak to people who are experts in brains, and even they don't have all the answers.
Yeah. He was saying that stuff because Joe was pushing. He's like, well, when will we get to that point? And he's like, 20 years, 25 years. And he was like, that's quick.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I guess they're going to trials to try to help people,
That's
you know,
crazy.
again.
Siike, are you scared of having kids because of this aneurysm?
I won't have kids. I don't know how, so where they do the coiling, the procedures, sometimes they go in areas that, you know, like the groin and stuff, like, you know, so I'm not, you know, I've although I've, you know, had sex in the past 10 years, it's only been like 2 times, and neither experience was very good. It was painful. So I don't. I've kind of disconnected in that way.
For sure.
You know, and I don't really. I tell. It's easier for me to tell people that I'm asexual. That's not 100% true anymore. I feel like over the past couple of years, I've started to, as I feel more connected to people again, I've developed attractions to certain people. But it's not something I think about. And honestly, if I ever do fall in love and I get to that stage, I'd probably try to do something like an adoption or something.
Hell yeah.
First of all, I don't want to pass this on to anybody. And when I heard that it's a hereditary thing, you know, I go through so much, and I feel like I would be a monster, I think, to want to willingly potentially pass. I mean, there's
I was going to say potentially.
Well, yeah, I was
right.
Whoa.
But,
I feel
but with my luck, I guess I would hope that I would feel like the risk is too high. I wouldn't want to pass this on to somebody. So I would probably look into, if it got to that point, and if I connected with somebody enough and was in love and we talked about kids, I would probably lean towards some kind of, you know,
adoption.
Like an adoption, yeah.
Is the pain a normal thing? Is that I mean, because I know they have to go through the groin to get to certain areas, but I've never heard of the pain lasting afterwards.
It's
I mean, it might be
done
just a brain thing, dog. Who knows? Like, yeah, I mean, like,
and that's exactly it. Sometimes the pain I have is psychological.
Yeah.
The pain I meant, it wasn't like when I was having sex. I guess it wasn't like fully a physical pain, but there was something else there, and I guess it was me. I guess it's me trying to figure out who I am still.
Yeah.
So it kind of comes from that. It was like, you know, am I straight? Am I gay? Am I, you know, there's a lot, like, I don't know about myself. So, so that's what I kind of mean, was that it wasn't a pleasant experience for me. So until I figure that stuff out, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of courage in that, you know. I mean, I can respect that, especially as a guy who I don't really go out and date too much or do anything insane. And ever since I quit drinking, you know, and dealt with my alcoholism, you know, I wake up with a lot less random women, you know. And like, I remember there were times where, like, you know, I would be having sex and I would feel disconnected, like, and in that sense of like, not what am I doing? Well, it'd be like, what am I doing? Like, almost like not necessarily half-hearted effort, but it would, like, trying to figure myself in that moment. And maybe because there's just so much rawness going on in that particular moment. And because I was raised in a house,
you covered up.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I think you're just so, your brain is so open and your chakras and your energies are flowing so hard at that moment that it'll let everything in, good and bad. So like, as much euphoria as you're feeling, you know, if you're not careful, you know, it will, I mean, I'll start thinking weird things like, and then I'll really start questioning, like, what am I doing, like, with my body literally at this moment? Like, this isn't right. Like, this isn't like, and then I'll wave it off, you know, but I mean, I can't even imagine dealing that sort of, you know, and on a, like, my brain could blow up from banging it out. Like, that's the best sex of my life, but it's also the scariest sex of my life. Like, so, I mean, it's like a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, and so, I mean, I stay away from sex and I can have it, but I'll just think about it. Like, it just scares me sometimes. Like, but I'm weird.
Like, just shaking someone's hand or getting a hug can be a sensory overload for me.
Yeah.
So magnify that when you have sex. Like, that's what I also mean by pain. It's like a discomfort thing. It's like, wow, like, if someone gave me a hug and I don't know them, like, if I meet someone, like when I worked at Lego, like I said, a lot of people that came in the store that were regulars that befriended me were on the spectrum. And so we would, you know, I know that's how they communicate. They'll come up and they'll give me a big hug and they'll say, Siike, I missed you. I don't feel weird when that happens because I know that's the natural way for that person to, you know, communicate. You know, hugs are a big deal. Like, contact is a big deal, and they only do it with certain people. You know, so I was very, you know, fortunate to you know, have those experiences with those people, and it helped me open up about my sense of touch and stuff. But around them, I don't mind it because I know there's no other feelings going on. It's just happiness when they hug you. But other people, when you handshake someone on a regular basis, they have multiple emotions when they shake your hand, even if they don't think they do. And then same with a hug. Sometimes it's an awkward hug. It's not, and it's a passionate hug where they want more from the hug than you're giving, and it's too much for me.
And so you're like, how do I reciprocate? Like,
yeah. So when you elevate that to a sexual level, it's really hard for me. I have like panic attacks, and it's not easy. So
I didn't think I could feel any closer to my boy Siike, but the man's kind of speaking my language. Like I don't know, it's crazy.
The only time I really felt that, I think, is when I was on acid and I tried acid.
Yeah, well, you're
a
hound dog. You're 6'8", covered in tats, hound dog. Like
Speaking of tats, I saw that you had a couple. Speaking of tats, I saw that you had a couple. What do you got?
I do. I got
yeah.
I have ODST. I'm a big Halo fan.
Oh, ODST. Honestly, one of the most underrated Halo fucking games ever. I love ODST.
That's my favorite Halo game.
No, ODST, you don't have those powers. You're just, an ordinary guy.
Just a dude.
You're just a Marine and you're getting your butt kicked. That's awesome.
And then,
plus Nathan Fillion, which is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can't go wrong with him. And then what's that one?
Supernatural.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is from Supernatural. This is from my book Soulstar.
Nice.
After a couple of us, me and some of the other artists, went and got Soulstar tattoos after. This is Inhumans and X-Men.
Right. Okay.
Fuck, yo, he's straight dank tatted out.
Over here, these are more from Supernatural. Tattoos, The Mark of Cain.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you're a big Supernatural fan. We'll have to cover that next episode.
Yeah, dude, Supernatural's an amazing show.
Okay, well, why don't you guys get married?
So I used to. Well, my name's Sam, and I had a muscle car, and I had long hair, and I had this girl that worked next to this. She worked in a Goodwill close to this tattoo shop I was at, and she used to freak out. She's like, "You're the real Sam."
Just living his life.
That's awesome.
Man, that's crazy, bro. Well, you know what? We're getting here near the back end, just because I know everybody's got some stuff to do. But do you have any because we're gonna have you back on if you want to come back on eventually in a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
But I mean, are you working on anything right now? Do you have any shows coming up? Do you want to plug anything? Any final thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm still doing the Venom blog. So we're passing 500 episodes. We're going to be doing the next few coming up here soon. I interviewed the guy who does the voice of Venom on the current Maximum Venom cartoon.
I saw that was cool.
Those interviews will start going up next week. So yeah, mainly on my main channel, I do on YouTube. I do Venom vlog. I cover Transformers and Ghost Rider sometimes. Those are other characters I like. And then on Patreon, I started a Patreon $3 a month to get 4 1-hour podcasts, and those focus on Superman and then now Spawn. I'm going to be launching a Spawn show too.
Right.
So those will be on Patreon. So yeah, so every month you'll get 2 Spawns and 2 Supermans, and then slowly I'm going to start, doing 1 episode a month. I'll integrate more shows, but right now it's Superman and Spawn. And then I sometimes Twitch stream video games, but the book I'm working on right now, it's one I kickstarted a while ago, and I've actually rewritten this thing completely from ground up twice now, because there was once I launched the Kickstarter, as soon as it was over, someone contacted me about making it a movie, and then we went through that process for like 3 years of like, all right, write the book, but then also like plan the movie and blah blah blah. And it got to the point where I got so, because that's the Hollywood process. They drag things out. They and I know this guy was genuine. He was a cool guy. So I'm sure I'll talk with him again at some point, but he's now working for a different company. So I'm going to let some time fade, and I just want to write the book the way I originally intended, without the promise of a movie and all these other things and spin-offs and all this. They wanted me to make like a 5-book thing out of it. And I was like, I only planned for it to be 2 books, so I'm now back on that
just
path.
Do you.
Yeah, so now that it's back in this form and it's completely in my control, I'm hopefully nearing the end of it soon. So I'm working on that while we're on lockdown and stuff.
Right.
And so that I'm hoping to release later this year, hopefully by Christmas time. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm working on that, and I do my YouTube show. It's at Venom Vlog. You can find me on social media at Venom Vlog, VLOG. And yeah, hit me up. And I'm just a big nerd, man.
Yeah.
So
Sam,
just
here,
hit me
real
up
quick.
anytime.
Buy me like 2 minutes, because I can't. I was supposed to give him to this when we met up in person, but here, hold on. Here, just
Wait,
ask him any
what are you trying to do?
last minute questions. Hold on, I'm gonna grab something. Ask him any last minute
So
questions.
okay, here's a question.
Yeah.
The whole
Okay.
Superman Spawn thing, that's so far. They're so far apart from each other. So why Superman? Why do you like Superman first? I like Superman.
Yeah.
But I want to know why you like Superman, because it's kind of a hard character to kind of like sometimes.
That's why I like him. Superman is the easiest character to get wrong, and he's often portrayed in a way that masses don't like it. But when you hit that stride of like, I see the thing is about Superman is I think a lot of fans, they have two extremes. They either want him like Boy Scout, or they want him a different way. And I'm very much the guy in the middle. I don't see, like when I watched that movie, what was it, Kill Bill, when at the end when Quentin Tarantino wrote that monologue for the actor to read about Superman being making fun of humanity by being Clark Kent. I remember watching that in the theater and being like, what is this guy talking about? Like,
no.
That's such a cynical way of looking at Superman. Like, to me, Superman, like, I grew up in the South, and even though I don't remember a lot of that stuff, even still, my work ethic today is representative of what my mom has and what Southern upbringing has kind of taught me. My mom is like, even when you have days off, you can't stand to not do something. Like the other night I had like a 10-hour vertigo spell, and I was like, every time I took a step, it felt like step one, I was on this wall. Step two, I was on the ceiling. Step three, I was on that wall. It was so bad. I was throwing up everywhere. And yet once I got to the point where I had nothing else to throw up and nothing else to do, and I was drinking all this water, and I started to calm down and the room slowly stopped spinning, the first thing I did was I got up, turned on my computer, and I downloaded recordings from my Twitch stream to my computer so I can start editing them and put them on YouTube. And my mom is like, that's who you are. She's like, as soon as you have an opening to work, you work. As soon as your health, the troubles subside, you go right back to work. She's like, that's who you are. Even when you're just sitting there doing nothing, you're thinking about your book or your shows, you're planning stuff out. I'm taking notes on my phone all the time. She's like, that's your grandfather taught you that. I taught you that, and you still do that. So what I like about Superman is that he comes from a place like that. He comes from Smallville, which is people who wake up every day. They wake up at 6, 7 a.m. They have a schedule. They do their work, and they have these values. And so I don't see Superman as an alien first who is commenting on society. I see him as an honestly neurotic, worried Southerner or Midwesterner who is afraid his secret's going to get out, so it makes him nervous. I think Clark Kent naturally does bump into things and bump into people. I don't think that's an act. I think the act is puffing his chest out and putting his hands on his side and going, hey, everybody, like not his.
That's the act, yeah.
His motivations aren't the act. His good heart and in saving people, that's not the act. It's just the confidence of it. Right, the bravado. I think that's the act. And so once I started looking at Superman through that lens, it made me love him so much more. So yeah, we started Patreon with just Superman. I did 4 episodes a month on just Superman. But now that we've done that for 4 months now, and we got 16 Superman episodes up, I'm like, okay, I love Superman, but I want to start balancing out talking about him every week with another character. So what's the extreme opposite? And then who's a character that everyone wants me to talk about the most? And after doing Venom, I've had so many people go, dude, please do Spawn. I'm like, okay, let's do a Spawn podcast. And what's cool is that Superman even showed up in an episode of Spawn, in an issue. And he had a pretty decent part in it. And he imparted some wisdom to Spawn. So I was like, that's great. We have a Republican soldier of fortune who got killed by his government and is resurrected by making a deal with the devil. And then we have Superman, who is, sent down from another planet who grew up in the Midwest and has all these heroic ideals. What better, what better do to juxtapose each? I'm a big fan of contrast. So I love, so it's going to be a fun month because this is our first month where we do the Spawn podcast and Superman together, and it's going to be fun.
That's
no,
awesome.
dude, that's exactly why I like Superman too.
Very
Some of my favorite Supermans are like the all-star Supermans where it's mostly Clark Kent. It's not him punching stuff. It's him,
I like Steel. He's my favorite Superman.
You would.
Nice.
All right. Well,
Steel.
real quick. So speaking of Superman, so we got you this. I don't know if you have this copy of it, but it's that it's issue 1 variant of the Doomsday Clock.
Oh.
So I know how big of a Doomsday Clock fan you were. You waited like 2 years for episode or issue 12 to come. This is number 1 of 12, man. January 2017, front of the Superman cover. I thought it would be appropriate to gift it to you. So whenever you send me your box office, dog, we'll send that over to you, your PO box. But
that's
plastic.
That's amazing.
It should get over. It should still be. It's hopefully still an 8 or a 9 on the scale, dog. But who knows? Maybe you hold on to this and get it signed, dog, and maybe you can give it away or something for the podcast.
No, that's a gift. I keep gifts, and I am. I've luckily been fortunate enough to meet Jeff Johns numerous times, and currently one of my best friends works for Jeff Johns directly at Mad Ghost.
Cool.
So yeah, that's the whole reason I started the Superman podcast. Is we started on Action Comics #1. I'm doing 52 episodes, and the last episode is going to be about Doomsday Clock. So it's a 52 episode love letter to Superman. So thank you. That's a very nice gift.
Hey, it's the least I can do, and the network can do for. You've been such a big part of my life, and it's been an honor to have you on the show, man. I hate to wrap it up like that, but Sam, any final thoughts, man?
No, man, Siike, it was great meeting you. It's funny because everything that you like that's literally what I'm into. Like spawns.
We're all best friends now, and I'll definitely come back on the show anytime. Just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely,
man. We'd love to have you.
And other than that, guys, just the standard plugs. Please go and check out Siike. We're gonna have all his information down at the bottom of the details. But you can look him up on YouTube at Venom Vlog. That's VLOG, and then Venom like the character, Venom Vlog. And if you guys could just do us a favor, make sure that you guys follow us on YouTube, Binge on This, and on Instagram, Binge on This channel, and follow the rest of our great shows, This, That, and the Other, Happy News with Perry Kurtz, What's Hood with FC, our new Dungeons and Dragons show, Roll 420, which will be coming out next week. I'll be
recording
TV.
a news.
We're recording those this
Same of All
Sunday.
Trades.
Yep, Same of All Trades. Jesus, God, we have so much going on. And that's about it, guys. Siike, man, again, thank you so much, buddy. Honestly, I'm so happy that you got over to Florida safe and sound, and that you're doing well over there. And I'm excited for Florida to get a piece of Siike the way the rest of the world has gotten a piece of it. So I'm glad that you made it to your 10-year anniversary, man. We'll get you back on the channel soon. And as always, guys, remember to love each other, stay safe, and to dream the dream of 1,000 dreams.
Geronimo!
True.